Hello and welcome back. This is Mr. Messina here with your information, your news for the week. There's been a lot of things happening. A lot of things. We've gotten some information from the schools. I've gotten 2 emails for myself. I know across the country right now there are still quite a few schools not yet decided on what they want to do. Going full virtual learning, going back to the classroom full time, or what our school has decided right as of right now, which is a hybrid program with the option of fully being online. Now, being fully transparent here, the school doesn't want to look bad in any sense of the way. And for their credit, they're actually doing it right. They're getting feedback from not just me, the teacher, but they're getting feedback from the parents, the students, what they're saying right now. And apparently they're saying, half the parents are saying right now, we want our students in the classrooms. I personally don't agree with that, but that's what they're saying that they want. And we're going to talk about it. That's one of the things I'm going to talk about today is what is happening with the school reopenings, what's happening with COVID-19. There's a lot of new information coming out and a lot of misinformation coming out. And as you guys know how that goes, it is up to the individual on how to sift, how to find the trustworthy information. And again, I'll talk about that in a minute, maybe 10 minutes in. And finally, I'm going to talk about my RetroPie project, which, if you read the description, it is how to turn an entire arcade into a small little device, and then using that device to play any game. You just hook it up to any TV, any monitor, any projector, and you can play a game. Basically, all you will need is either one of these controllers or one of the old school controllers, depending on what game you're playing. So I'll talk about that later on. And yes, I will tell you how to build your own and where I went to find all my resources and all my games. By the end of it, I will say that I legally put in as many games that I had copies of into my RetroPie. And I will say that there are ways of putting other things in there. I'll get into it later. But hope you guys enjoy this. I will be uploading this one to YouTube as well. If you notice on my screens on the bottom, I added my Twitch stream over there all the way at the end where I'm putting in the content. If you're watching this on Facebook, I recommend either watching the YouTube video or watching the Twitch stream. If you're going to watch it live, I say watch it on Twitch. If you're going to watch it later, I recommend on YouTube. That's because they have better audio. Facebook compresses the audio after the fact. So right now you might be hearing me well because this is a live stream and I set the settings to what I want. But then Facebook compresses the heck out of it and it just don't sound very low. So on YouTube, I fix that and then I give you the higher quality version of this. So again, if you're going to watch this live, I recommend on Twitch. If you're going to watch this later, I recommend on YouTube. Both links are on there. You guys might be wondering why I haven't been uploading a lot of stuff on the Instagram or the Twitter. Guys, I have been in PDs. If in a minute, I'll show you right now everything that I've done. Well, some of the things I've done right now to try to bring things into the classroom for the next semester. But it is a lot. I mean, literally coming into here, I was just at another virtual PD because I wanted to work well. Now, getting into the main things. If you guys already seen the previous video from last week, you guys know that I did lose a student to COVID-19 already. And I talked a lot about my feelings processing through that. And I know a lot of my other students have reported, like, have been saying, like, I lost a loved one to this, parents, uncles, grandparents, even younger siblings. Like, people are literally dying. And it does affect, it's not just out there saying people are dying, people we care about are dying. So that's first on the list of, let's treat this with the seriousness that it deserves. Let's not just brush it off saying, oh, I don't want to wear my mask right now, or oh, I don't feel like doing this. It's not just about one person, it's about everyone. And let's get into it. So, right now, I've been reading quite a few things, but mostly from sources that I trust. Well, trust is a very strong word, but you guys know I'm on Reddit. You guys know that if you search my Pacina streams, you'll probably find me. But one thing that I did find, and it has been like backed up by multiple scientists, multiple doctors from independent places, so I pretty much trust this source. Again, with a grain of salt. Not everything has been proven. Not everything. We're learning as it's happening. This is history in the making, guys. And as you know, with history, there's a lot of things that we're going to get right, and there's going to be a lot of things that we get wrong. That is what science is. 1,000 years ago, we didn't know a quarter of the stuff we know now. Or our perception of what was true was false, or was untrue, or was based on truth, but not true in of itself. That's a fancy way of saying it's complicated. And we still don't know, and we're learning as we go. But this is one of the topics that I found, which was Spain's large-scale study on the coronavirus indicates just 5% of its population has developed antibodies, which basically says that building immunity, herd immunity, that means everyone is immune to COVID-19, is unachievable. This was taken from 61,000 people participating in this sample size. That was the sample size of this study, 61,000 people, which is quite a bit. Like, normally the sample size is very small and you can't really apply it to things bigger on itself. Like, most scientific studies are a couple of thousand people. This was way bigger. So that's the first thing that drew my attention. Then second thing that caught my attention was Spain. Spain, which, as we know, was the first battleground, so to speak, for the COVID-19 pandemic, which was so many people died from this. Yes, it has gotten better, but it's still pretty bad. And after they were hit so bad, like so many people had this, only 5% of the population from a few days ago reported being immune. Well, immune is a strong word. Having developed antibodies. Antibodies doesn't mean that you will never get it again. That just means that you have a better chance of fighting it off faster. Now, there's a lot of things in here. Like, this is from a science subreddit. Like, this one has better administrators, so like a lot of comments are moderated and everything. And going through the comments, going through the things, I find out that it's not just antibodies that you want to look at. It's also T cells and other things. And I myself am not a scientist, and I barely understand it. So I'm trying to find other sources to try to back this up, so to speak. So, because I know that there are some countries out there that have worked out how to get zero deaths from this, like Vietnam. Like CNBC is reporting right now that countries like Vietnam were able to actually contain the pandemic and have zero people die from it in their country. Now, by that I don't mean that no one got sick. No, people got sick. In fact, the first thing they talk about in this video is an airline pilot nearly died, and the country spent $200,000 plus trying to save that guy's life. But I'm digressing here. Back to this. So I'm going to start off with this COVID information just to get the facts out there is that this is still happening. Even in Texas right now, you can get fined for not wearing your mask. Every single place of business right now is displaying out in the storefronts is by state mandate. It is against the law to be maskless entering these premises. So that basically says you come in without a mask, you get fined, we'll call the cops, and they will come give you a ticket. That's basically what they're saying. So it is still happening. Like some people are saying that this is not the second wave yet. We haven't hit that wave. That wave is going to come with the flu that comes in later in the fall. That's going to be the second wave, maybe even the third wave. But right now, we are still on the cold ends of the first wave. The first wave never ended. More on that in a minute. A lot of people are saying that this year is cursed, that this is a cursed year, 2020, that someone did something and now we all have to suffer for it. And bringing in police brutality and the Black Lives Movement, bringing in the pandemic, the flooding in Africa, the what was that? The forest fires and the actual fires going over destroying Australia. There were plagues. You might not have heard of that, but there were plagues that actually happened and are still happening right now in parts of the world where locusts have like completely spread out of control. And so many things are happening right now, and people are saying that it's a cursed year. Let me be clear with this for anyone listening. This is not a cursed year. This is just the year that has broken the camel's back, for a lack of a better phrase. People have been warning about a pandemic for years, for decades, really. I remember watching this Vox on Netflix. Vox, if you don't know, is a great channel to get your information from. They are, I think, more left-leaning than right-leaning, but still, they're great journalism. They have amazing graphics. When they make videos, they make some of the best videos. Like, let me just search up a quick Vox video right now. The way they present the information is just so intuitive and user-friendly. But anyways, Vox is one of the best and simplest people to explain how this is happening. And in their Netflix special, yes, they have a Netflix specials. If you haven't watched it yet and you have Netflix, I recommend going there. But just type in Vox, and they have a bunch of different things on here. One of the things that I caught my attention was the next pandemic, which they did in 2019, which was literally 1 month before this thing started. This is COVID-19. It started in December 2019. That's why it's called COVID-19. So now, this was one of the first things that I watched. But again, I've seen the interviews from Bill Gates when he did them in 2016, I believe. But it was eye-opening, to say the least, where he's talking about how we're not prepared for the next pandemic. And true to form, we were not even a little bit. And that explains at least why things are as bad as they were. We haven't been prepared. People have said we weren't going to be prepared. And then turns out, hey, this thing happened. We're not prepared. Oh, shocker. This didn't just happen, guys. What happened with SARS back in the day, like that should have been the eye opener of we are very vulnerable as a species and should be doing something about it. uh, which ties into the Spanish flu. Like, if you haven't seen the if you haven't seen this video about the Spanish flu, and by now the title of it is San Francisco Paid the Price for Lifting Spanish Flu Lockdown Early. It basically talks about a case study of San Francisco lifting the ban. If you're not familiar with the Spanish flu, think of it as the modern day bubonic plague, which, yes, it did kill millions of people. Yes, it did affect the entire world. And it's only called the Spanish flu. It didn't come from Spain, guys. They just blamed Spain because they were neutral at the time during the war. But they called it the Spanish flu because Spain was the only one reporting on it. So then everyone just pointed the finger at Spain. Spain was innocent in all this. But anyways, the Spanish flu, people were getting sick. People were extremely sick. People were dying. So they put in a mask order. Many San Francisco defied the order, and some were fined and arrested. Does that sound familiar? It is so asinine what people are saying right now. My body, my choice. It's not about you, you twit. It's about everyone, because as soon as they uplifted the thing, 45, let me see if I can find it. It was right around here. So when they lifted it, their death count literally doubled. Sound familiar? The US lifted its lockdown, and then our numbers went back up. Our death count as well went back up. But again, this is just history repeating itself. 2020, again, it's not a curse, it's just people not knowing their history. Let me see, talking about flooding. Yes, that there's been some flooding happening, I believe, in Los Angeles, saying that now the whole four horsemen of the apocalypse. We have pestilence, we have death, we have what's the other ones? Let me see if I can remember. The four horsemen in the Christian faith. What are they? Conquest, war, famine, death. I mean, yeah, that's going to happen. With any plague, that's going to happen. Famine is going to happen. That's literally what I think that's what plague is, depending on how you use the word. But anyways, no, pestilence. That's what I'm thinking about. Pestilence. Anyways, flooding, fires. You can attribute that to global warming, guys. It's been happening. People have said that it's happening. Every credible scientist says that it's real. Actually, I believe now it's called climate change, man-made climate change. And yeah, that is what's happening. Like, people that are denying it have vested interest in it not being real. Such as, think of it like you own a car factory, and you are, and if climate change were real, they would make you pay more out of your own pocket to make cars and sell cars because you're contributing to this thing. And because you don't want to pay that money, you just say, no, it's not real. I don't know what you're talking about. You just claim ignorance, which is so short sighted. Which makes sense because usually these decisions are made by people that are already old and near their own deaths, and they don't care about the future of the world. They don't care about their legacy. They just care about getting things now while they can still enjoy it. It's I believe that's called defeatism. Let me look it up. Pessimism, defeatism, pretty close. But basically, they've already given up on the future of the world and just want to enjoy it while they're alive. They don't care about their children or their grandchildren. But yeah, global warming, that is going to affect people a lot more in the coming years. Let me see. What else I didn't talk about? Oh, yes. So one thing that I did find was that in Google, you can find anime GIFs, for example, like that. So this is something that I definitely want to bring into my classroom. Like when I'm replying to students, one thing that I'll be doing is like they'll be giving kudos to each other, giving praise to each other, saying, I really liked it when you did this. And then they'll be able to put something like this as part of their praise to the other students, where it's like it's something fun that students are talking to each other, they're praising each other's work, and they're building each other. But let me see if I can show you guys this next part. My camera only for a second here, so I can log into this. My computer was like, no, I updated my password. That was a mistake. All right, I'll come back to that. Anyways, so one of the things that I'm trying to do right now is bring up some of the information that was shared with me. I knew I should have downloaded it, but I didn't. Every time. And I do hate that my Workforce Now information is always shut out every few minutes. Like, yeah, I'm supposed to protect you, but honestly, if I'm already away from the page that you created, why kick me out anyways? It's just lazy on your part. Anyways, let me see. Anyways, as I was saying, I've gotten two emails from administration where saying uh, their first decision was doing a sort of hybrid sort of back to school thing where you could choose send your kid to school. Great. They'll be going to school 2 weeks out of the month, and the other 2 weeks will be in a virtual environment through the what we've already done in the past, which is what we experimented with when we had to shut down due to lockdown. And the other option was 100% virtual. So you had the option of choosing one. And there are some small things in there for like if you work for the school and you have a student that goes to the school, then there's a separate scenario for you. But that was basically it. The takeaway from that. They said that everyone, students, teachers, staff, visitors, everyone would have to be checked, temperature checks, have to wear masks, sanitize frequently, and all that jazz. But then, as I said, what would happen is the numbers went up. Like Texas, Houston specifically, be one of the highest growing numbers of coronavirus identification. And they came out with the second email saying, we will review things as they happen, as they said, like later in July. So I'll hear about this within a few weeks. Later in July, they'll say if they're going to push back the hybrid and just go full virtual start of the year, which is what I recommend, at least until December, where after the flu wave will die down. So like for me right now, it's incredibly dangerous. For me right now, I think at least one person in your immediate or secondary family has been affected by coronavirus. Like they've either gotten it or someone has passed from it. Like to me, that is something that is reality right now. By December, that is what's going to happen. At least one person in your family will have either had coronavirus or have died from coronavirus. Like that. I'm just projecting the numbers that are being put out there. Like showing you right now the coronavirus map that I shared with you guys last week, and at the start of this series that I created, start of my series that I created, showing you guys this. I didn't create this. This is done by Johns Hopkins again. All the people that are contributing information to this are right here. The WHO, CDC, the Chinese CDC, and a bunch of local places. But right now, over 11 million people over the world have had confirmed coronavirus. So that number is, think about it, times 1.5 to 3 times that, and that's how many people probably had it that hadn't been identified. Because again, a lot of places in the world, such as Africa, such as places that that don't have the resources to do testing, third world countries, etc. Like I know places in the Middle East, some places don't do them because of ideological differences. Like I do remember seeing this news report back in the day, and when I say back in the day, which was like a month or 2 or 3 ago, where they were saying like, this is a plot by our enemies, there is no coronavirus. And then a few weeks go by and they see people are dying, and there's pressure from everyone saying, and then they're saying, okay, it's real. Like this is not by our enemies. Like we'll get people tested, and then they still don't, and then they're mass graves, and so on and so forth, totalitarian regimes and whatnot. But anyways, back to this. Like deaths are real. People are dying. Over 130,000 people in the US have died. Almost 3 million people identified. 130,000 have died. And one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is your mortality rate. So let me see if I can show you a video about the mortality rate. Let me see if I can bring it up. So I know I recently saw a video that talked about the mortality rate. The US does have a lower mortality rate as opposed to other places in the world, but that's again because we have more hospitals in place, more doctors in place, but it's not perfect because our numbers are way higher than other places. And I'll talk about that in a second. I'll talk about this video that recently came out from Dr. Mike as well. Let me see. Oh yes, if I remember correctly, Brazil is still messed up, where the person in charge is saying that it's not a big deal, like coronavirus is not going to affect them in any way, and still people are dying and people are getting sick, and he doesn't care. And some people attribute it to, well, if people die, that's less people he has to take care of, which does make some sick sort of sense. Where if the poor people in his country die, then he, as the leader of the country, doesn't have to care about them or have to give resources to them, which is just messed up when you think about it in that sense. I'm having trouble finding the video. So guys, this is why I should just have the videos up and never close them forever. and slow my computer down to a crawl where I can't ever do anything. But anyways, in the video it talked about, I believe, and I'm paraphrasing here, about the mortality rate being much lower in the US as opposed to places like in, I want to say the mortality rate in Spain was about 10%. And in the US, it was about 4%. So your chance of dying if you get the coronavirus is much higher depending on where you are. But let me talk about this video by Dr. Mike for a second. Flip through it. So, Dr. Mike, if you guys don't know about him, I plugged him in my last one. I like his videos. He's entertaining, he's funny, and he is an actual doctor. And in this one, he's fact-checking President Trump. Now, in here, the president is one of the things that the president of America said is, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not going to play that because then I'll get a copyright strike, but I'm paraphrasing here. He basically said a fallacy. A fallacy is a nonsense statement. And he basically said that if you're finding so many people through testing, let's slow down the testing. That way we'll find less people. Now, it's a fallacy because that doesn't actually reduce the numbers of people getting sick. It's just slowing down the reporting of people getting sick, which is, first off, not something you want to happen. To have accurate numbers, to have actual plans to combat this pandemic. And then a bunch of his people, and I do mean his people, try to say that he was kidding. He wasn't being serious. And then when the president was asked about this, I don't kid. That was his statement. Was he kidding? I don't kid. Let me just tell you, let me make it clear. That was exactly what he said when he asked the question of, was he kidding? He's not kidding. He honestly thinks that slowing down testing is a good thing, according to this statement and his previous statement. Oh my God. Oh my God. There's just no way around it. If you're listening to President Trump on medical advice towards this pandemic, just don't. Like, you could support him all you want and what he said and it promised back in the 2016, I wouldn't say, but just don't take his medical advice because first off, he's not a doctor. Secondly, this is just not how things work. And I keep bumping my mic for some reason, but that's not how things work. It's a fallacy. It's like the monkey. And let me explain that. So, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. That is the three monkeys. Just because you don't hear any evil, speak any evil, or see any evil doesn't mean that evil doesn't exist. That's what a fallacy is. It's that guy. Back to what I was saying. So give me a second as I try to log in to this account over here. So I can show you guys what I mean when I say I'm going to have to reset my information. All right. As you guys know, resetting things can be annoying. All right. So these are the things I want to talk about. Whoops, I was in Maine for that one. Don't no one be stealing my information. Uh, Anyways, so this is what was shared with me, which is from the uh, United States Department of Labor. So it was basically saying the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, FFCRA or ACT, is requiring employers to provide their employees with paid sick leave and extended family and medical leave for specific reasons related to COVID 19. They apply from April 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. That's important. So, if you remember correctly, this pandemic is said to be lasting at the minimum of 18 months when it started, like back in December, when they first started researching for a vaccine. So, a few months after that. So, this right here, what you see right now, only does not apply for the entirety of the pandemic. So, but let's talk about what it does cover up to December 31st. So basically, it gives you up to 2 weeks, 80 hours or part-time employees equivalent of paid sick leave for the following. It will give you 100% of your pay up to $5,110 for, and remember, this is 2 weeks, up to $5,000 for 2 weeks, 100% for reasons 1 and 3. If you are subject to federal, state, or local quarantine for COVID 19, you have been advised by a healthcare provider to self quarantine for COVID 19. So let's say you talk to a doctor or a nurse saying, I feel sick, and they tell you to quarantine, you get 100% of your pay up to $5,110 for those 2 weeks. Or number 3, you are experiencing COVID 19 symptoms and need a medical diagnosis. So you would be covered until you can go to the doctor and get tested. So 2/3 of your pay. So remember, right now you're not making 100% of your money. You're making 2/3 of your money up to $200 daily or $2,000 total for those 2 weeks for reasons number 4 and 6. You have to care for an individual that is in self quarantine or is advised to self quarantine. Sorry, I'm reading that wrong. No. If you're caring for an individual, no, yeah, that's number 4 and number 6, or you are experiencing any other substantially similar condition specified by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So if you're sick, so if you're just regular sick, let's say you have the flu, they'll keep you at home for 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks, and you'll get 2/3 your pay. Or up to 12 weeks of paid leave and expanded family medical leave paid at 2/3 for number 5. That means you're caring for a child whose school is closed or your place of care is closed due to COVID 19 reasons. You'll get 2/3 of your pay, up to $12,000 total, and up to $200 daily. So just FYI, most people in low income would be fully covered in this because the $512 daily and $200 daily, actually, that's pretty messed up. So if you make $300 daily, let's test that out. Let's do a little math right now. So let me bring up my calculator right now. That was my calendar. What, do I not have my calculator app built in? Ah, anyways, doing some math right now. There we go. So let's do some math. If you are, where did I have that? If you're someone that is caring for someone that is sick or are sick with something other than COVID-19, you'll get 2/3 up to $200 daily. So you'll make about $300 a day. That would be your normal pay for the day, $300. So let's say the normal working day is 8 to 9 hours. Honestly, for teachers, is more like 10 to 12, which, yeah, I get to school 7:15, and usually I leave the school at around 6 because I teach an extra program after school. Normally, school stops at 4:45, and I know that because that's when I'm still at school because I have to do dismissal duty. Which, yeah, my school has teachers do dismissal duty, which is weird because usually that should be done by administrators, that's what they're paid for. Technically, I stopped being paid for things after my last class, which is tragic. Yes, education reform needs to happen. Give more money to teachers. Make the requirements to become a teacher more stringent and helpful to that teacher. And then you wouldn't see 50% of your teachers leaving the classroom. Anyways, let me see. So let's say minimum. You would be making about $37 an hour to be paid the full amount. However, most people don't get paid that. Don't get paid $300 an hour to make the max $200 a day. So let's say you're making minimum wage, $7.15 times 8. That can't be right. Does a minimum wage person actually make $57.20 in an entire day before taxes? Yeah. Again, the minimum wage needs to be raised. That's not right. That is simple math. How does that happen? But anyways, let's say that's true. Now multiply that by 0.66, which is 2/3. So that person that is making minimum wage is going to take home, is at home making $38 a day. Let's multiply that by an entire week. So their entire week, they're making $264 for the week. Yeah, they meet the minimum. And it logged me out again. They're making the minimum. Like, they're not going to get to that $2,000 for that entire time, but they're not going to survive. They might as well get on unemployment, which right now is way higher than that. But again, you need to have proper reasons and all that and whatnot. It gets complicated, guys. But anyways, this is something that just was shared with me. Share this with anyone you think might need it. There's a QR code on the bottom. There's a URL down here that you can click on to get more information for workers' right and all that. Some people that fear concerns going back to the school can fill this out, saying that I don't feel comfortable going back to the school because of this reason. And of course, you can be approved or denied depending on your reason, or usually depending on the person looking at your form. Like, yeah, that's a valid excuse. No, that's not a valid excuse. And of course, a bunch of guidance and other stuff that was shared with me on their basic reasoning behind things or what is expected of them. Which, yeah, it's not great. And you know you're in trouble when you say this phrase, but it is what it is. And basically, it is what it is basically the reason that police brutality has gotten so bad and people are literally putting their lives at risk protesting that injustice. But it is what it is. As odd as it is. But before further ado, let me share one thing with you guys, which is what I've been working on in Premiere. So this has not been mastered. This has not been edited. So I haven't made any cuts. This is just the drone footage mixed with, have I not even put in my handheld footage? Oh my God, I'm so behind on this. So my goal is by next week to have this done, to have this video completely mixed and mastered and beautiful for you guys to watch. But recently, man, I say recently, but that was 2 months ago, where we had an 8th grade drive-through celebration go by, where students who were encouraged to drive through where say goodbye to their 8th grade teachers and staff, because now they're heading to high school. Some of them will be going up to our high school right here. So we have primary, middle, and high school on the same location. Some of them will be going to that high school. Some of them we won't see for a very long time because they're going to different high schools. But my goal is to have this video mixed and mastered for you guys by next week. I don't know if I'm going to make that deadline because there's still a lot to do. But here's a sneak peek for 1 minute of what I have so far. Let me do a quick check to make sure that you guys can hear the audio as well. So, yep.
To the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah. And it's a good, I won't even worry anymore. Took all my cares, took and kicked them all out the door. Go on and try, come and tell me what you're waiting for. Move and keep them going till your life is overflowing, yeah. I do a dance of victory, cause now I'm living good. No, I'm not living like I used to be. I talk about things, talk about my mind. Now I'm free from the words that I left behind. I gotta jump for joy and shout aloud and make a sound. Oh, the world can stop me now, no. On the music, I will ride on the beat. Play my guitar while I'm stomping my feet. Yeah, I gotta celebrate life.
All right, that was a quick 1 minute sneak peek at what's happening next. But that is what I'm working on, as well as going to all of these other PDs and everything. Oh, right, I said I was going to show you guys the PDs. So anyways, I have been learning Wakelet a lot, and basically each one of these is a different professional development that I've gone to, such as supporting students with dyslexia. If you guys don't know this, I am dyslexia certified. That means that I can, well, it's a bit complicated because I was a dyslexia coordinator as well, even though I just wanted to be the dyslexia teacher. But I can teach students with dyslexia because I have been trained on understanding the disorder and knowing what it is and how to effectively teach a student with it. So basically, I wanted to know how to go further with that and what resources existed out there. And I found a lot of things out there, guys. I found a lot of things. Like a bunch of Microsoft tools have dyslexia specifically on there, such as also Dysgraphia. Flipgrid has special things for dyslexia students embedded in, and there's a bunch of other things on there that I found out. So if you want the cheat sheet on how to put a lot of things in there, such as knowing what a hyperdoc is, putting an escape room into your classroom, even digital, and remote learning 101, educators toolkits, how to build a teacher's toolkits for the administrators out there, what is game-based learning and how to do it, how to up your PowerPoint game, what is Classcraft and how do you get better at it, what is Wakelet, what is this thing that I'm using and how to use it. So I have all of that on there. If you just want to get the cheat sheets on there or want to get all these resources in here that I have, each one of these, like each thing you see in green is a different link that I embedded in there, which is resources that I was told would help and I checked them out. Like in there, I take you to the video in there, and there's a lot of different things in here, guys. There's a lot of things to unpack. So just Follow me at Pacina Streams to get all the content in there. And yes, I'm still adding more things into this because I'm still going to more things out there. Like tomorrow, I have a different one. The day after, I have a different one. And in between, I'm also doing, let me see, where is that? In between, I'm also getting Microsoft certified in special programs such as Minecraft EDU, STEM Level 1, which has different courses in there, Lego Mindstorm EV3 certified. I am doing a lot of things in there, guys, because I want to bring as many resources and tools to you guys next year, whether you're in the classroom or out of the classroom. I want to be able to teach you effectively because, again, my worst case scenario is that you just don't learn as much as you normally would have in a normal situation. That should be my worst case scenario. And my best case scenario would be that using all of these tools, we outdo everything that we've ever thought. That we go above and beyond and you learn more than you could have in the classroom. Because again, right now, how I feel, it's not safe to go back into the classroom, especially not until after December, when the second wave is going to hit with the flu season coming. I don't feel comfortable going back into the classroom. I don't feel comfortable putting my students at risk or even putting myself at risk. I know first responders, there's been jokes around saying that they are essential and that they're also sacrificial. That's the joke right now. Essential means sacrificial. No, it doesn't. It means that we have to do this because we absolutely have to. We don't need a building to be effective educators. I don't need to be in front of you, hovering over you, with my eyes looking at exactly what you're doing to make sure that you are learning. And that's why I'm building my toolkit on how to effectively do things remotely, digitally, because I know there will be some students that won't be coming into the classroom. And honestly, I might not be in person either. But I will make it so that everyone is successful as much as possible while being safe. Now, moving on to my other things. If I told you guys about let me see if I can bring it up. I told you guys about the RetroPie. Now, I have one in my back over there somewhere stored away, but I basically build this thing right here. If you follow the instructions on here, you have all the tools, you'll be able to do it. But basically, you turn this mini computer right here into an arcade machine from many different consoles. That's about that, as simplest term I can say it. You can play any game from the past 30, 50 years in this little thing. And honestly, you don't even need the little thing. The little Pi thing is just so that you can have everything in a simple place and just play from a main screen. It's just a GUI interface. So if you just want the thing, if you want to build an actual thing, you can, of course, go the RetroPie route. I did, and it was great. I think the most you'll pay is like, I want to say $50 total to get the RetroPie, to get the wires, and to get control as well. So $50 or so, $50 to $100. Don't go over that, and you'll be able to do that. But the first question there, is RetroPie legal? Yes, the RetroPie itself is legal, but downloading ROMs from the internet is technically illegal, with the exclusion that you have owned the game in the past. So, as I said, in my RetroPie, I can say that the games that I downloaded, the games that are on there are the ones that I have owned in the past. So getting set up, let me show you what I mean. So to make the what the RetroPie basically does is take an emulator, like let's say SNES, which is the Super Nintendo. So let's say that's that. I'm literally doing everything as I'm doing. So there it is. That's the emulator. So you can think of this as the console right now that I just showed you. This entire thing, that once you have to have the physical thing for it, you can just have as a little program right here. So this just became that. That's about it. That's all you need to know about emulators. They are consoles in programs. And what you can do with this program is put it into the little retro and the little Pi board, and now you have this console in there. So you'll be able to play any Super Nintendo game using this software. And yes, you can have other consoles in there as well. You can have a console in there for Super Nintendo, N64, PlayStation, and so on and so forth. And then you select which console you want to play with, and then you select the game that goes under that. So I'm gonna look for a ROM. That I have owned, and just Super Nintendo Bros. 3 ROM. And I'm just downloading it. There we go. And if you're wondering what an RAR file is, that's basically a compressed file. So usually to send things to each other, you need to compress it. That way it is, first off, not as big as it was and easier to manage all the files inside. But anyways, there we go. I've extracted the file from this RAR. If you need any help with any of these, just let me know. I'll break it down for you. There it is. So usually what you got to do is just drag this in there. There we go. Drag the actual file. Oh, never mind. You didn't have to compress it or take it out. The RAR file will work just as well. Come on, come on. So usually you got to be careful where you download your ROMs from. Like this one is just the first one I clicked on. I'll delete the files and then scrub my computer just in case. But it's not working very well. So I'll try a different one. Wait, was Super Mario Brothers 3 for the... for the Super Nintendo or for a different one? It was for the NES. Oh my. I'm being silly over here. And it's got to update something. And it's updated. There it is. So I am now playing Super Mario Bros. 3. It was that simple, guys. Just download the emulator, download the ROM, put the ROM into the emulator, and bam, you got the game. You see. I think I clicked on the wrong control setting. Now I need to reset that. Anyways, like this is, I don't have my main emulators on here. I have them on my other computer over here because usually I want them on the go. Like I have during my lunchtime, I just play these games or do something to unwind. So anyways, that was the quick thing. And if you don't want to set up the RetroPie entirely, this is what you could do. Just play it on your computer. You can also like go the full route and build a little RetroPie arcade machine. If you want to go the full route, you can build an actual like little mini arcade game. Like I know if you go to Micro Center, they have these little arcade consoles in there that look very fancy. Guys, they're using exactly the same thing that you can build on your own. You don't need to buy the entire cabinet to play one game. You can customize it to play any game. But this has been Mr. Pacina. I've been talking for an hour, over an hour now, which is an hour that I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Showing you guys my information right now. If you want to reach out in any media forms, I check the. Well, actually, which one do I check most often? Honestly, I check them at least between every few days because I don't want to be the type of person that just lives off their phone, checking their phone every 20 seconds. Like, I check it once in a while, guys. So just, if I don't respond within a day, then maybe send another question my way, just to make sure that I get the notification. But, thank you for listening. And as Dr. Mike says, wait, how did he put it? I had it in my head. It's stay something, not anxious. Oh, alert, not anxious. Stay alert, not anxious. Do what's best for you and your family. And I mean in the long term, I don't just mean like, I know it's been driven into your head to educate your child, to get educated. School is important. Get good grades. Do this, do that. But right now, it's not about that. It is staying safe. Thank you guys for listening. This has been Mr. Pacina, and this is my third time signing off. Have a great day. Bye.